Me leva pra longe, longe sem pensar. Teu toque me
Hello everybody, and welcome to today's video. It's going to be a bit of an amalgamation of things today, largely focusing on all the books that I read during January. Let's just say the beginning of the month, this brand new year, I feel like I've gone in strong and I'm really happy with it. I will just acknowledge the fact that my hair looks a little bit different at the top here, but it's giving dinosaur at the back, so just bear with me. There is a method to the madness. There is a little bit of a theme going on, but I'm aware that all you can see is just this cute little bantu knot at the top of my head. I think it would look cuter if I had like a couple there, but then it would throw off the whole trajectory of the rest of the hairstyle. So ignore that. Anyway, I thought I'd quickly highlight that during January, I did have a couple of books that I had sort of more so as priority that I wanted to get finished definitely in this month, or at least try to. So I wanted to finish The Ice Barbarians by Ruby Dixon. I also wanted to read and finish Friend Complex, which is a webtoons by Uni. And I also wanted to finish up The Nightmare Before Christmas by Sarah Rush. So yeah, they were all kind of like current reads. The Ice Barbarians was on Kindle Unlimited. The Friend Complex was on webtoons, and The Nightmare Before Christmas was my physical current read. I also wanted to get started on two particular books. One of those was The House of Leaves, which is a loaned book to me from a colleague, and another one was sort of like an older arc, and it's The Great Library of Tomorrow. So moving on from that, I did have a couple of challenges that I wanted to try this year and for the next couple of months depending. So I decided to start using some TBR star jars and also some book card prompts. So for the TBR star jar, the prompt that I pulled was to read a particular book, and that is Terry Pratchett's Wit and Wisdom of Discworld. I haven't read any Terry Pratchett yet, so I thought I would change that, swap that out, and start with a book that I do want to read, and that is The Weird Sisters. So yeah, hopefully I can read and enjoy this one, and yeah, just kind of have a great time with it. I was supposed to be joining like some colleagues' book club last year and reading the Terry Pratchett books, but I'd never got around to it, and I was like, yeah, this is the year I'm going to do it, and that didn't happen. So this hopefully is the year that I'm going to do it. I also pulled from the TBR cards to read a book with a library. I haven't actually got that finished, so I'm kind of just going with the flow with these. They're not necessarily month by month. It's just like maybe for a season or until I pick up the book. So I'm not going to put too much pressure on it. So I am currently reading The Great Library of Tomorrow, which would fit this prompt, and also a winter reading challenge prompt. So I work at a library, and they've recently delivered their winter reading challenge bingo for the adult portion of the winter reading challenge, and the idea is to kind of get a bingo. I'll show you what I mean with the prompts that they have, or you can like try and fill all the prompts if you want. So I've done a couple so far, I think, and yeah, if I remember, I'll tell you when I get to it. But one of those prompts was also to read a book that was set in a library. So that was kind of like a two bird, one stone sort of thing. So with that being said, I thought before we jump into the book reviews, I want to showcase a couple of books that I got in terms of hauls. So my friend at work gave me this book, and this is Christina Henry's The House That Horror Built. And I haven't read anything by it. I'm looking at my shelves because I feel like I might have one book by this author, but I haven't read anything by her yet. And she read it, she enjoyed it. It's something that I've been wanting to read. And she was just getting rid of some books, and I said, I'll take this one off her hands. So yeah, I think I've got The Horseman. That's a cover that looks familiar. I feel like it's somewhere next to me on the shelves. So thank you very much to my colleague. I also used my Vinted money to purchase a book from Vinted, and that is The Shipper Thesis. It's one of those kind of very strange meta books that is like a book within a book, and it's got like annotations and it's got bits that come out of the story, and it's a very involved kind of escape room journey of a book. It sparked a reminder to read it because I'm currently reading House of Leaves very slowly. It's a very slow read of House of Leaves, and this book popped into my head again of something that I think I might also enjoy if I do like House of Leaves, which so far I am enjoying. So I have that to dip into whenever I'm ready for another complex mind world bending altering story. Okay, with that all being said and done, shall we jump into the books that I read during January? If my calculations are correct, I believe I managed to complete around 14 books. 2 of those I finished off today, which is the 31st of January, so very lastminute.com. But yeah, let's just jump into it. I started the month finishing off my first Ruby Dixon book, and this was The Ice Planet Barbarians, which is the first book of said series, and it was so much fun. I gave this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars, and the setting of this is our main character is abducted by aliens and discarded on an uninhabitable planet. This is full of ice planet barbarians, as you may guess, and Georgie, our main character, has to take it upon herself to take charge of basically the circumstances and the rest of the girls that she's stranded on the planet with, and try to find a way out of this situation before they start to die one by one. The world is very inhospitable for them. They don't have the skin, the strength, the warmth to be able to survive comfortably on their own. But we then meet quite swiftly a big blue alien that may be just the hero they need. Despite the rather dark beginning, we had a really witty, opinionated main character that brought back some lightheartedness to the story and kind of balanced it out a little bit. The romance was great, it was steamy, and yeah, I just think it was really well written. I thought the smutty scenes were fantastic, and then the actual characters and getting to know them was really fun as well. So it's a series that I would definitely consider continuing on. I don't know when I'll get around to the next book, and I've noticed that there's like 0.5 books in between each 1, 2, 3, so I'm guessing they're little novellas in between, so I might end up reading it that way. I don't know if there's a recommended reading list for Elsa for this series, but if you've read this series, do let me know if you read like the main books first and then went back to the little prequels, or if you read them in between each more full-length book, because the full-length book they're not super long anyway. Right, next up, I had my first DNF for the year, and this was also on Kindle Unlimited. Unfortunately, this was The Cursed, which is a graphic ballad, and this is by Alexander Gabriel Zodarot. So, a brief blurb: Draco returns to a desecrated land, and honestly, that's all I really got from it. Even the blurb was quite confusing for me to try and decipher when I went back and actually tried to figure out what was going on. So I did end up DNFing this at about 30% of the way through. The words felt like they were moving on the page, and I don't know what that was about. Initially, I thought it was like the graphics, like the design, it was almost like a moving book, but I think it was just the heavy like ink on the page, and it was really dark, and I think my eyes just wasn't adjusting to it. So yeah, it kind of hurt. I also, as well as not being able to really grasp the writing style, I just didn't understand what was happening in the story. The art was cool to begin with. It looked like there was lots of different artists involved initially, is what I thought, and they felt kind of just off enough for you to realize, you know, they stand out as individual artists. But when I read more on it, after deciding to DNF it, I realised that originally this was a full-length book adapted as a graphic novel, and the art was all AI. There's quite a lengthy like explanation of AI use and things of that nature in the description, at least on Goodreads. So if you do want to read that, go ahead and do that. But yeah, the book was way too confusing for me. I really didn't know what was going on. Next up, I read yet another Kindle Unlimited book. This was by Tessa Bailey. This one is called Merry Ever After, and it follows a single mum working in a thrift store and a gentle giant farmer who can't find jeans that fit. Thus, they meet in this situation. She tries to find jeans that work for him, and then quite quickly they become attracted to each other and find themselves making alterations in more ways than one. This was the second book in the Kindle Unlimited collection called Under the Mistletoe. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I had so much fun reading this. Luke, the gentle farmer, was the perfect example of the quote, "A man who yearns is a man who earns." Because yeah, he got a lot of love. He was just so yearny, and the fantasies he had in his head of like wooing this woman and like making out with her and stuff like that, it was so vivid and like, yeah, textbook man written by a woman. I loved it. I loved how intense Evie and Luke's feelings were from the start. I'm not usually a fan of insta love, but I feel like it really worked in its favor in this book. And considering it's only like a couple of pages long, like 40 pages if that, it worked out, you know. Yeah, I think it made sense. Even though the span of time was quite quick, it still didn't feel like super crazy silly, you know. It was an attraction. They went off of that, you know. Backstory regarding Eve, as Luke kind of overshadowed her in terms of like main character energy. But other than that, like I had a really great time and I loved the way it wrapped up, and the ending in general was just absolutely delightful. Next up, I have an audiobook, and this is Darling Girls by Sally Hepworth. It's kind of like a mystery, a reawakening of secrets that have unfolded over the years. And I ended up giving this one a 4 out of 5 stars. I had wanted to read this a while ago, I think. I picked it up when I was choosing like a book club book for some customers at work, and yeah, I took note because it sounded interesting to me. So it's kind of like a back and forth storytelling mystery, centering on 3 foster sisters. They become bonded from a young age and stay in each other's lives as sisters. It's also about the secrets of their foster home, coming into light after many years when bones are found underneath the house after it's been demolished for different works in the area. And also it touches on the abuse that they had dealt with whilst living under the care of Mrs. Fairchild in that foster home. So initially it was quite difficult for me to separate which sister was which. I don't know if that was just because the audiobook set in, but after I started connecting them with, you know, specific characteristics and jobs and what this person was like, it then became more individualized, and I was like, I don't know how I confused them to begin with because they're completely different, but I just needed to latch onto a specific trait to be like, oh yeah, that's that sister, you know. This was really detailed and twisty, super emotional from the get-go with some fantastic plot twists, and I had such a fantastic time listening to this. I had my second DNF for the year, for January. I am being a little bit more strict now on what I want to continue listening to, reading to, and yeah, I just unfortunately didn't enjoy this one as well. So I decided to stop, and that is A Stranger in the House by Shari LaPena, which is kind of like a domestic thriller. So suffering from amnesia, Karen, her husband, and the detectives are desperate to find out why she was speeding in a dodgy part of town. They find out, I sure don't know because I stopped listening to it around 37% of the way in, unfortunately. So yeah, I usually love an amnesia kind of unreliable main character story arc, but I really struggled to connect with any of the characters, particularly our main character Karen, and just the general direction of the storytelling in this one. It became obvious that the most I would probably give this would be a 3 stars, which is still a fantastic rating in my opinion, but I just felt like it was very lackluster and I wasn't really wanting to pick it up, and I just decided to drop out. But a lot of customers really enjoy this author's work, and I have been wanting to dip in a little bit more into crime and domestic thriller, just mainly for like audiobook purposes, so I can be like doing things around and I know I've got to go to crime or thriller. I just feel like that's entertaining to listen to. Yeah, so I wanted to give it a go, and unfortunately this wasn't the one for me, but I did try another one later on in the month and I will get to that shortly. Next up, I read a graphic novel via Kindle Unlimited. This is Happiness Volume 1 by Shuzo Oshimi, and this is about Makoto Ozaki, who is struggling through his first year at high school, when on one night he is knocked to the ground by a pale, scary girl who offers him a choice. This was a very slow to unfold kind of storytelling, and one that, no pun intended, I felt like I couldn't really sink my teeth into. It wasn't as gripping as I was hoping it would be, but I am still intrigued enough to try out like at least the next volume or two. I am glad though that I didn't buy this, because it has been like, I always look up like vampire related books and themes like that, and this is one of the main themes in this story. And yeah, so it was on my radar, especially because I like manga and I like, you know, monster kind of mangas. And yeah, I'm glad I didn't pay for this, because I feel like I would have been much more disappointed than I was having borrowed it through Kindle Unlimited. Does that make sense? I feel like I just rambled on there, but hopefully that made a little bit of sense. So we're at a little bit of a midway point, and I just wanted to kind of go over a couple of the books that we may have already spoken about when it comes to the winter reading bingo that I'm currently doing. So I've got like little scraps of paper that I've not yet put into my book, but one of the prompts was read a book under 400 pages, and for that I decided to go with happiness, which is obviously what I've just spoken about. And then the rest of the books that I have ticked off for this so far, I'm about to speak on. So let's move on to a book that I've done a full review for. I've absolutely adored it. It's yet to go up on the channel, but I don't think it will be much later than the next couple of videos. It might be nearer the end of the month, actually. Let me not tell a lie. So yeah, it'll be up, I think, some point this month. But that is a sequel, and it's a book that I was on the book tour for, which I'm very thankful for. And this is A Horn of Onyx by Meredith R. Lyons. And this was like a sci-fi kind of romantasy story, also alien characters, but aliens that look more like fae kind of vibe. I don't really want to give you a synopsis for this one, because it does like pretty much go straight into the story, continuing on from the last book. So if you haven't read the first book, I don't want to spoil anything, but let it be known I rated it a 5 out of 5 stars. And as I say, I do have that video on the channel, or soon to be on the channel. Another book that I also did a review for was I absolutely love this one. It was The Nightmare Before Christmas by Sarah Rush. I'll just show you here because it's the only physical book I have on me at the moment. This was fantastic. 5 out of 5 stars. I've got a dedicated review for this if you are interested. We are following two holiday royals who find themselves in a sham competition for the Easter Princess's hand, but find themselves getting closer to each other instead. It is super cute. Some bi-rep Mau romance and magical holiday vibes with actual like magic, which I wasn't expecting and really enjoyed. And this also worked for me for the prompt of a winter themed book. So yes, that was perfect for that, and just perfect all round because I adored this book. Ticks off the theme of a random book pick, and it was in fact a random book pick. It's actually one that I have been umming and erming about buying a copy of myself, and I saw it at work and I thought, what better time to read it now? And it was really quick, but I loved it. And that is, without further ado, The Cafe at the Edge of the Woods by Mikey Please. We have an inspiring chef who opens a cafe beside an enchanted forest and discovers locals with a peculiar palate. This is children's fantasy. It's whimsy, it's enchanting, it's a little bit of fun, and I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. It was such a delight to read. I knew that I'd love it from the beginning, but I loved it even more than I was expecting, particularly because of the type of rhyming pattern that we had in the verse, and I really enjoyed that. The illustrations were beautiful and they really well accompanied the story. I believe the author is also the illustrator. So yeah, there's a lot of love in this and I adored it. Definitely go back and read again and add to my collection, honestly, because it was a fantastic time. I think there's a second book in this series as well. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. After that, another book that also is ticked off for the Winter Reading Challenge, which comes under a book with one word in the title, or one word as the title, and that was Disturbance by Jenna Clark. And again, this has been sitting on my TBR, I think, for at least a year, so I'm getting around to books a bit quicker as I'm adding them than usually, but that does mean that I am neglecting my long-standing TBR on the shelves around me. But let's not think about that. Let's not dwell on that. So this is a literary fiction, and it's a bit of a weird girl fiction, I would say, actually. So it's a genre bending debut focusing on a woman's attempt to heal from an abusive relationship with the help of a little bit of black magic. I don't think we ever get to know our main character's name, so yeah, that was weird and something I didn't actually take in until like near the end. And I feel like that was probably intentional. But yeah, I ended up enjoying this. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. One of the things I liked about it was the way that I read it, which was an immersive read. So I had the audio on the go as well as physically reading it. And I really felt like you can get into our main character's head and kind of hear her voice and sort of spiral with her and rationalize with her. And a lot was very much intense from being in her head. But on the flip side of that, it was quite difficult because she was recounting some of the situations that she was in with her ex-partner, who is abusive and very emotionally manipulative, emotionally cruel. Hear a lot of what the ex said through audiobook, like in my ears, was quite tough. But the experience in itself of being in our main character's head was an interesting one. It gave such a weird feeling by the end. It didn't really feel complete as such, but I feel like one of the main things about this was it was almost like a lesson on life and healing. And does that ever feel complete? I don't know. So I guess that was the point. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Oh my gosh, we're down to the last 4 books now. The next one is Everyone Here Is Lying, which I gave a 3.5 out of 5 stars. And I used this for the Winter Reading Challenge prompt of an audiobook book. An audio book. This was the next Shari LaPena book that I tried, and I ended up enjoying it. I'm really glad that the experience DNFing the last book of hers didn't, put me off trying another one, because I did want to give them a go, and I had a much better experience reading this book. This was more for me for sure. Is following this idyllic little town, I guess you could say. Welcome to Stanhope, a safe neighborhood, a place for families, but also a place teeming with adultery, unhinged narratives, and suspicious kids. So this was another thriller. As I say, 3.5 stars. It was my audiobook choice for the Winter Reading Challenge. In this idyllic, quaint little town is corrupt, messy, hiding secrets. It's almost like I'm guessing like Big Little Lies. Is that the thing? I've never seen or read that book, but I feel like it's probably akin to that. And it also gives me kind of like Pretty Little Liars vibes as well. There's rumors spreading so fast from the faces that are smiling at you and being friendly on the surface. It was super entertaining. It had me despising so many characters. There was quite a large cast, expecting the direction of the story by the end, but I did have a good time listening to this, and I think I would, off of that experience, try another one of this author's works. I'll probably be a little bit more mindful of if it actually sounds like it's something I would enjoy. So the next one I've kind of been a little bit sneaky with. So it fits the prompt of a book that was turned into a TV show or a film in a way. Be cheeky because this was actually adapted into a BBC full cast radio production. So kind of a similar theme, but not quite exactly what the prompt asks for. And this was 44 Scotland Street, season 1 to 3. It's like an adaptation of Alexander McCall Smith's book in that series, which is 44 Scotland Street. But I think it just takes some of the stories and like adapts them for a listening experience. So I'm not sure how exact they are to the written books. Yeah, so it follows the inhabitants of an Edinburgh flat, and there are some quirky characters for sure, particularly Bertie, who is my fave. He's like a 6-year-old boy who's learning Italian and going to all these clubs. There's a really pushy mum who's like, no, Bertie, you can't like that. You have to go on a play date with this person, and just because of appearances and stuff like that. And speaking of appearances, it reminded me of that TV show, Keeping Up Appearances, combined with Balamory. And I think I was probably getting the Balamory aspect because I think that's Scottish from what I remember. And also the child aspect. We have quite a few scenes with Bertie, and he's so funny. It was nice to finally dip my toes into Alexander McCall Smith. This is another author that I see time and time again from customers bringing back to the library and borrowing out. So I wanted to try something in the Alexander McCall Smith universe. There's like crime books, there's contemporary, there's so many books with this name on the shelf. So yeah, I don't know if I'd necessarily listen to another one of this production, but in saying that, it was really fun, so I don't know why I wouldn't. But yeah, it was nice to kind of get a glimpse into the world and meet some of the characters that I know a lot of people enjoy. So I gave that one a 3 out of 5 stars. So last two books now. If you're wondering my arms like that, my cat's down here and she keeps like nudging me to stroke her. So I'm like, of course, let me stroke you. So the last two books are ones that I finished literally today. And the first of those being The Awakening Storm, which is the first book in the graphic novel children's fantasy series called A City of Dragons. And this one is by, I can't read my writing. It's not that I can't read my writing, it's that the pens blended into each other. I think it says Jamal Yogis, and the illustrator is Vivian Truong. And it follows Grace and her friends who must protect a recently hatched dragon from mysterious evil doers. Her whole life is kind of upended. She's moved to a complete different country, part of her heritage that she doesn't know an awful lot about, with her mum after her dad passes away. She's got a new stepdad, so many changes, a new school. It's like an international prestigious school. There's a lot going on for this girl, and then all of a sudden a dragon hatches for her, and now people are after them. Nate, the dragon, was the cutest thing ever. I absolutely adored his little arms and wings, and he was just so precious. And I loved him. He was so sweet. I feel like if there is a sequel, the next time we're going to see him, he's going to be massive, but he's still like not pocket sized, but enough to be like curled up on you like a snake. He's so cute. It kind of reminded me of Jake Long, the American Dragon, which was it on Toonami or Disney XD or something like that. But I used to love that show. And yeah, my brother used to collect the medallions when we were kids. I really loved the characters in this, but Ramesh really got on my nerves. He was just so irritating, trying to be funny all the time that he ended up being mean and nasty, even to his so called friends. And I just didn't like that about him. But yeah, I loved that this was about, grief and learning how to handle the loss of a loved one, change, friendships, learning about your heritage, adventure, Chinese mythology and lore. All of it was so beautifully done, and I ended up giving this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. And lastly, to wrap it up, a 5-star read. I finally finished reading a webtoon comic by Uni, I think that might be how you pronounce it, called Childhood Friend Complex, and this was season 1. I have been reading this since February last year, which is crazy to me. I am just going to put that down to me not wanting to finish it because I loved it and I love the characters. We are following, I'm going to pronounce their names completely wrong, I'm sure, Haenul and Minchinol, who have been lifelong friends. And a romantic comedy unfolds between the two of them that feels like a game of tag as they become awakened to the fact that this person is quite attractive, they know each other so well, but then there's like, should they ruin their friendships? Will it ruin their friendship? They've got like a friends with benefits thing going on, and then there's more to it, and then people are getting involved, and it's so much drama, and I loved it, and it was so good. The illustrations were fantastic. There were so many swoon worthy characters. Like the amount of times I was just kicking my feet and giggling because they are so beautiful. Like the illustrations, the way that artists designs characters are just gorgeous. You could just stare at them all day. I think they'd make some really beautiful art prints. And yeah, just the way characters were acting with each other just made you like giddy, like, are they gonna kiss? Are they not? Don't get that wrong though. It was a bit spicy. There were some spicy scenes in it, which I also think was done really well. But yeah, I also ended up having by accident the wrong edition for the longest time, so it looked like I wasn't making any progress, and that also probably didn't help me like feel motivated to pick it back up. But I ended up manually switching over because I ended up having like a bind up of season 1 and 2, and I didn't realize that until I was nearly finished with it, and I was like, why has this not moved any further? And I realized, it's because they're lumped together, the 2 seasons that are out at the moment. So I managed to manually, painstakingly, so it wouldn't mess up my stats, I guess, as much as it could, put in all the dates of updates and page counts and stuff on Storygraph. On Goodreads, it's not on there, so I'm going to have to see if I can join the Goodreads library thing and add it. But I'm not super fast. I like to have a tally of what I've been reading and when. Childhood Friend Complex could also be used for the reading prompt of the first in a series, so that was also helpful. Anyway, that, my friends, wraps up today's video. It's a bit of everything. It was a long one. Thank you for staying with me if you have for this long. I really appreciate it. Let me know how January has been in terms of your reading month. I would love to know. What are you planning to read in February? Are you theming it around romance, other things going on? I'd love to know. Take care. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.